Next, we will look at the life of Padmasambhava. This biography of Guru Rinpoche was composed by Jetsun Taranatha of the Jonang school. Which page are we on? Please share the page number with them. For those who newly joined us today, including the several Tibetan lamas and Ani nuns, regarding the previously covered section of the Udana Sutra, it would be best if you could receive the oral transmission from someone who holds it. But if that is not possible, it is fine. At this moment, we cannot spend all our time on making up the transmissions. Actually, regarding the transmission, I will explain it further later. There are other ways to understand it. Let's continue with the biography. The king would wash his hair for the great festival that lay ahead. However, they ran out of hair nectar. Bodhisattva told the king, "On the north side of Mount Meru there is a spring called Taktunang." He said if they could fetch water from there to wash the king's hair, it would prolong the king's life, ensure the lineage continues, and bring prosperity to the great kingdom. The king must have been absolutely delighted. When he asked who could go and fetch the water, the Acharya replied, "Only Padmasambhava can accomplish this." So the Tibetan king requested his help. He would definitely make this request. Think about it. It could extend his lifespan, ensure the lineage continues, and make the kingdom flourish. So he pleaded with Guru Rinpoche, "No matter what, you must find a way to fetch this water for me." Guru Rinpoche then took a golden vase sealed with a white kata and placed it in the center of a mandala. After reciting the mantras, he threw the precious vase into the air. The vase flew higher and finally vanished from sight. It is just like the small camera drones we have today. It just flew away with a whirring sound. I heard that recently private drones are no longer allowed. Starting from May 1st, they say only official ones can be operated, while private ones are banned because they might expose too much private information. But what we see online isn't always accurate. Maybe after a while people will use them again. It's hard to say. The news could be true or false. Anyway, we don't use them, so it doesn't matter to us. At that time, Guru Rinpoche's vase flew up into the sky through his spiritual power. In about the time it takes to eat a meal, the vase reappeared all of a sudden right before Guru Rinpoche. After the king finished washing his hair, he passed the precious vase to his ministers. When the ministers opened it to take a look, they found the water inside was grayish-white. At that moment, as it was passed around the assembly of ministers, some said, "This must surely be the intoxicating liquor of men that brings madness. We should pour it out." Particularly among his ministers, there were likely followers of the native Burn religion. They probably lacked faith in it back then, or perhaps they just didn't realize its value. Regarding that water in the vase, whether it was the leftovers after washing the king's hair, or they just poured out the entire vase right there, the historical records are not completely clear. After they said that, the water was poured out on the ground. The water was wasted just like that. In fact, this water was brought by Guru Rinpoche's miraculous power. However, at that time, they didn't cherish it. That is what it means. This was a display of Guru Rinpoche's miraculous power right in front of the king, showing how he could fetch the water. Following this, Guru Rinpoche bestowed upon the Tibetan king and the fortunate citizens the empowerments of the Kriya Tantra and inner Tantras. Moreover, he gave the king and many of his fortunate subjects the pith instruction, a garland of views. This is a pith instruction directly spoken by Guru Rinpoche himself. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also taught it before. Its commentaries were written by Mipham Rinpoche, Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche, and Rongzom Pandita. I've already translated the first draft of Rongzom Pandita's commentary, and it is a bit difficult to understand. Certain parts within it are very hard to grasp. But with another round of proofreading later, it should be fine. A Garland of Views is actually an extremely important text. Especially for those of us who follow Guru Rinpoche, a Garland of Views is very important. The heart advice of Padmasambhava and then Guru Rinpoche's innermost essence practices of the Terma treasures are so crucial that it goes without saying. These are profoundly important teachings. They were personally transmitted by Guru Rinpoche at that time. He taught the texts Vajravidarana and the 100,000 verses of the Kala, pith instructions and practice texts, whatever was appropriate. He prophesied, "If I stay here for a long while, I shall make the whole region of Tibet peaceful and happy." However, due to the collective karma of sentient beings combined with the conditions of the dark forces of malevolent gods and demons that resided in the hearts of the ministers, this whole wish was not fulfilled. Regarding this later period, the extensive biography of Guru Rinpoche records many events. Indeed, there are various accounts in history. Actually, King Songtsen Gampo also left behind a testament and advice, the Pillar Testament. At that time, Songtsen Gampo concealed it inside a pillar of the temple in Lhasa, which was later recovered by Lord Atisha. This is a very crucial piece of history. It mainly records the period when Songtsen Gampo was in power, as well as the benefits of Avalokiteshvara's mantra. In this regard, this is also a highly significant historical text. Among the later 5 testaments, more details were recorded regarding Guru Rinpoche's prophecies. Very little is written following the master's pronouncement that he would turn Tibet into a fine land. Evidently, it was because the historical facts of the inner tantras were not appropriate to be leaked to the outside world. In the literature, the term empowerment were referred to by the secret expression, guiding through the stages. There was a special historical period when the Nyingma school had to use secret terminology to propagate the secret mantra. Just like when we previously studied Entering the Way of the Great Vehicle, its original title should actually be Entrance the Way of Vajrayana. However, because of the special circumstances at that time, they used the term stages as a secret expression to replace the word empowerment. This was because in the past, besides the inner tantras, even the names of the common empowerments had to be kept secret. There was such a tradition. Therefore, the substitute term stages was widely adopted in many of the old documents. In the early histories of the Pith instructions of A Garland of Views and Otrin Palgi Shonu's Guide for the Sessions of Vajraklaya Group Practice and various other reliable histories, the following consistent accounts are given. When Buddhism reached that specific stage later on, there were some unique secret expressions used before Lord Atisha came to the Tibetan region. The strict commitment to secrecy within secret mantra can be understood through these facts. When Guru Rinpoche bestowed empowerments upon the king, the queen of King Trisong Detsen was present. Who was this queen? Her name was Tsepong Zame Togdron. She was the queen of King Trisong Detsen. The 2 Champos following Trisong Detsen, namely Muni Tsempo and Trai de Songtsen, were both her sons. History shows that she was not a very good person. She later caused the great translator Vairotsana to be exiled to the region of Gyalmo Tsawarong. She was also intensely jealous of Khandro Yeshe Tsogyal. So this is how it was recorded in history. I remember it happened this way. But you can double check later to see if the details match, because at that time, Muni Tsempo had immense faith in the Buddha Dharma. He actually redistributed the wealth of the Tibetan region equally among the citizens 3 or 4 times. But because of his deep religious devotion, his mother became deeply resentful. She eventually poisoned him to death. After that, King Trai de Songtsen ascended the throne. It seems that his reign lasted slightly longer. Then, after his rule ended, came King Trai Ralpachen and Langdharma. Their father was Trai Songtsen. So Langdharma and King Tri Ralpachen were brothers born of the same father. King Tri Ralpachen was also deeply devoted to Buddhism. He would even spread his long hair on the ground for the Sangha to walk on. However, because he promoted Buddhism so extensively, it seems that later on, malicious ministers plotted against him. After King Tri Ralpachen passed away, Langdharma began his rule. But regarding this history, there are various differing accounts. Everyone is well aware of this history. Therefore, His Holiness also mentioned before that even within a single master's family lineage, not every descendant turns out to be virtuous. As the true descendants of the great King Trisong Detsen, Langdharma and King Tri Ralpachen were 2 completely opposite examples from the same bloodline. King Tri Ralpachen fully sustained the Buddha Dharma, while Langdharma started to destroy the Buddha Dharma ruthlessly. These facts are very clearly defined in historical records. Nevertheless, some people nowadays are starting to write books claiming that Langdharma was actually a good ruler. Well, if that is their claim and you want to establish this viewpoint, that is fine too. Then you must be an even better person. Another queen was Droza Tri Gyalmo Tsun, later known by her refuge name Jomo Changchub Je. This particular account is actually used by some people as scriptural evidence to prove that bhikshunis existed in the Tibetan region before. They requested to serve as the wisdom consorts to offer the mandala, but Guru Rinpoche did not consent. He did not recognize them as the ones with the right karmic connection. Who were the ones with the true connection? He prophesied that Lamo Tsen of Chim and Lady Tsogyal of Karchen possessed the karmic connection to serve as the offering consorts. The ones with the true connection were indeed these two. At that time, many people wondered, since those two women were not present at the site, what could be done as they were so far away. Guru Rinpoche replied, "It is easy as this." Then Guru Rinpoche entered meditative concentration. In a single instant, not only did both of them arrive at the edge of the mandala, but they also simultaneously realized the enlightened intent of accomplishment. According to the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, next to our statues or images of Guru Rinpoche, there are usually statues of Yeshe Tsogyal and Mandarava. These are by no means ordinary worldly wives and husbands, nor can they be viewed as ordinary kings and queens. We must never understand them in such a way. The relationship that Guru Rinpoche shared with his two consorts must be understood correctly. When we examine it according to the Vajrayana teachings, it is absolutely not a worldly physical union of male and female, nor is it a combination based on personal desire and attachment. Regarding this point, I found a very good explanation while watching the documentary In Search of Guru Rinpoche. He explains it from the perspective of physics, and the section regarding Mandarava is actually highly insightful. Mandarava was the only daughter of the king of Sahor. The king had no crown prince. Therefore, many neighboring kings fought fiercely to claim her. During this chaotic process, Mandarava made a decision for her own life. In order to prevent any further conflict, she chose to be ordained as an Ani nun. While she lived together with 500 nuns, Guru Rinpoche arrived there to teach the Dharma to them. When some local herders heard about this and reported it, the king became extremely furious. He prepared to capture both Mandarava and Guru Rinpoche and burn them alive on a massive pyre. At that very moment, the execution fire transformed into a lake. This is the wonderful origin of the Lotus Lake in Sahor. However, the inner meaning of this event is by no means something that can be explained by ordinary worldly concepts. When we look at it from this perspective, the secret biography of Yeshe Tsogyal shows the exact same truth. It records how she protected the sublime Dharma, how she received ordination, and how she managed to preserve all of Guru Rinpoche's termas. Her efforts in concealing termas, propagating them, and fulfilling the prophecies represent profound spiritual realities. If we try to understand these accounts merely as a common human life story, our understanding would be far too shallow. Those Westerners who made the documentary In Search of Guru Rinpoche did not leave their research at a mundane level. Yet nowadays it seems that some ordinary people, especially some individuals in the Han region, view Guru Rinpoche in a distorted way. They view Guru Rinpoche as a worldly king in the Han region who possesses numerous royal concubines and try to understand the teachings that way. This is a superficial understanding. We must understand the history exactly as stated in their biographies and combine those facts with the inner principles explained in Vajrayana. Only by bringing these together can we truly fathom his extremely profound and secret intent. Therefore, these essential points are clearly explained here. In that single instant, they not only arrived at the edge of the mandala, but they also simultaneously realized the enlightened intent of accomplishment. Following this, they completely renounced all worldly affairs and entered the path of genuine practice. Shall we stop here for today?
Mandarava Padmasambhava Mandarava Padmasambhava Mandarava Padmasambhava